Disney Star Wars fans were treated not to one, but two episodes of Ahsoka, D Plus's latest entry into the Star Wars universe. Maybe you didn't find the first episode of the premiere to be that great, like me.
Nothing
Christ
is
almighty.
dead. Nothing is dead. Bring the Genosians back then.
From the genocide?
I mean, they genocided the Night Sisters.
Yeah,
Dooku
they did.
killed them all.
And a lot of other people. But there is episode 2, isn't there?
This is where the fun begins.
No. Nope. As you will recall, episode 1 left off on a very tragic note as Sabine Wren was stabbed through the stomach, straight through the gut. It looked awful. Surely she would have died just like Qui-Gon Jinn or Han Solo or even the captain of the ship in the first episode. But fortunately, she's protected by plot armor.
Tougher than the strongest armor.
Yep, that's right. Sabine wakes up in a hospital on Lothal, looking, not dead at all. Ahsoka's there, wants to know what happened. Sabine explains how she's able to decipher the Golden Snitch, find a map that led to another galaxy. Ahsoka wanted to know if she had a copy of it, and she said, no. Droids destroyed it. I took out one of the droids. I don't know what happened to the other one. And Ahsoka decides, I'm going to go off and see what's going on at Sabine's house. So Ahsoka arrives at Sabine's house, and you see her start feeling around, trying to get a sense of things. And it's some sort of psychometry. And at first I was a little confused because I don't remember that being a Jedi power. But then I did remember Cal Kestis actually had that ability, as did Quinlan Voss. As Ahsoka looks around, she gets a sense of the battle that happened. She meets Sabine's Lothcat, which actually looks kind of good. Lothcat's fine. Cute little kitty cat. Certainly be great for merchandise down the road. While she's inside Sabine's house, she's attacked by a droid. Yes, one of the droids that attacked Sabine stayed behind for some reason. I don't know why. That makes no sense. Why would the droid stay behind? What's the purpose of that? I can't figure it out. But whatever it is, it now loses its head. And that head's going to be helpful because you see, they take that head back to the hospital where Sabine is at. And Sabine figures, you know what? I can crack into the memory circuits on this thing. Now, there is a danger because if she does it wrong, it might overload the circuits and cause the droid head to explode.
So what happens if you get the power levels wrong?
The head will explode?
Explode?
Anyone think that sounds dangerous? Yeah. You know who does? The Doctor. I'm sorry, I mean Hyung, played by David Tennant.
I'm the Doctor.
The droid points out, maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
Perhaps we should perform this operation somewhere else.
I say go for it.
Because you're a hologram.
Yeah, Hera's going to be fine. Nothing's going to happen to Hera, right? That thing blows up, she's fine. But if it blows up in the hospital, takes out everyone who's there on this floor, maybe takes out a couple other floors. So we are in such a critical situation that we will risk the lives of everyone in this hospital.
Not a great plan.
Sabine starts tinkering with the droid head, using what appears to be either a Cardassian tricorder or an old-style Tecmo football handheld game. Well, it's not going well. Things heating up. It's about to explode when Hyung pulls the plug on it. But fortunately, they did get a clue. The clue is that the droid is from Corellia. Now, Corellia, of course, is a well-known planet in the Star Wars universe. It's where Han Solo is from. And it's also the location of the shipyards of Morgan Elsbeth. That's right. The ally of Grand Admiral Thrawn, who was captured by Ahsoka in The Mandalorian. Again, it's helpful to actually watch all this stuff beforehand to see who these characters are. But that's a lot of homework since you got, 7 seasons of Clone Wars, 4 seasons of Rebels, and then 2 seasons of Mandalorian. I hope you all got time for this to figure out what's going on with all these people. Ahsoka decides to go to Corellia. Hera says she'll meet her there, and Sabine offers to come along, but Ahsoka quickly shuts her down and walks off. This leaves Hera and Sabine in the hospital room together, and this is again where we get Some very interesting conversation between these two women, talking about the difficulties of the relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine. I said it before, there is a whole lot of sexual tension between Ahsoka and Sabine. It's not a master apprentice relationship, in my opinion. It is clearly coming off as some sort of romantic relationship. And the conversation between Sabine and Hera really just points it out.
I haven't seen her in years, and the first thing I do goes sideways.
You're both difficult. I always thought that made it work.
I mean, come on. That literally sounds like two women who had a bad breakup and they just don't want to talk about everything that happened. They're having trouble reconnecting. It's just really tough and difficult for these two. Meanwhile, on the planet Ceto, we find that Balin and his apprentice Shin have shown up at what appears to be the Star Wars equivalent of Stonehenge. Morgan Elsbeth is there, and they place the golden snitch into a little pedestal in the center of Stonehenge, and a giant map appears. It looks like kind of like a star map or something that reminds me of the Starforge map from Knights of the Old Republic video game. And it shows the location of another galaxy. And Morgan explains that is where Thrawn is located. Now, you may wonder, it's like, hey, have I heard of this before in Star Wars? And I don't recall in any of the movies or TV series anything really being mentioned of another galaxy. But again, there was no source material for these people to draw upon, so they created their own. Seems like a lot of this show is being cribbed from Heir to the Empire, the Thrawn trilogy series written by Timothy Zahn in the early 90s. And of course, Thrawn is somehow trapped in an outside galaxy. How did he get there? Well, again, that requires you to go back and watch Rebels, where we see that he and Ezra Bridger were taken away by Purgles. Yep, the giant space whales. They were taken away. Now, you may wonder, why is Morgan Elsbeth so certain that Thrawn is in this other galaxy, which apparently is called Peridia?
Thrawn calls to me. Across time and space.
Star Wars does not do time travel. Let's leave that for the people who know what it's about.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
And also, she says, Thrawn reaches out to me. Now, we know that Morgan is a Night Sister, and she has some connection to the Force through whatever Night Sister magic they use. So that's acceptable that she can sense things. But how is it the Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is not Force sensitive, is reaching out to her? If someone could answer that question, that'd be great. Maybe we get that explanation later on in this show. I'm certain it'll be logical, just like everything else that Dave Filoni has been doing with this series. Morgan then says, prepare the Eye of Sion, which is, I think, another callback to another expanded universe character, Darth Sion. But again, there's no source material to rely upon. We're just picking and choosing things that don't exist. Balin then sends his apprentice Shin to Corellia to help Merrick obtain something. Corellia, isn't that the place where Hera and Ahsoka are going? Ahsoka meets up with Hera on Corellia, and they encounter a not so cooperative regional manager of the shipyards. Hera decides to pull a little rank, and eventually they get access. We learn along the way that there are some former Imperials working in the facilities because, it takes a long time to de-imperialize everything. And as the director, the original manager says, these workers are more interested in making a paycheck than politics. We also get to see everyone's favorite murder bot show up, Chopper. While they're driving through the facility, Hera, of course, talks to Ahsoka about the relationship between master and apprentice. Hera kind of takes on the role of what I consider to be like a couples therapist, trying to convince Ahsoka to take Sabine back as an apprentice. Again, I know this is a master apprentice relationship. It just comes off as like a strange relationship, with Hera literally playing couples counselor.
Wondering if you would consider bringing her back on as your apprentice.
Maybe we're both past that.
Another thing that you really notice about this scene is, again, bad acting.
I'm curious. What makes someone ready?
You just know.
Totally flat, totally emotionless delivery. And that's kind of the exchange back and forth between the two of them. It's really, I don't know if it's the director, I don't know if the actors are not getting into the roles or whatever. It's just awkward and stilted. Lastly, the other thing that really sticks out to me in this scene is the effects. Again, the use of the volume. I noticed when you'll notice when rather the ship's flying in, that when you just have like effects of the ships, it looks good. When Ahsoka's ship is approaching the shipyard, it looks good. The Phantom looks good. But when you have them driving on this little tram through the factory itself, it's very clear they're up against the volume. It's like the background is too blurry. I know it's supposed to meant to give some sort of perspective with a camera, but it just does not look good, and it's very noticeable. You can literally, again, see outlines around the figures as if it's not good compositing. The lighting is all off. It's very noticeable, and personally, I find it distracting. When the quality of the script is not good like this, it's little things like bad editing, bad effects that really stick out to you, and it does stick out here a lot. On Lothal, we see that Sabine is healed up nicely from what would normally be a deadly saber wound to the gut. And of course, we again get an opportunity to talk about Sabine and Ahsoka's relationship.
Ahsoka doesn't want to teach me.
That is an excuse.
Hey, she quit on me.
Sabine very clearly has sore feelings. Sabine brings up the fact that the only reason she's involved is because Ahsoka could not decipher the map herself, and Huang couldn't do it.
General Syndulla thought your insights would be valuable.
See? She doesn't want me back.
So Huang, again, playing the role of the third-party intermediary counselor, brings up the fact that Sabine really never wanted to get back into the training, and that Sabine is not a Jedi and has no Force powers at all.
I have known many padawans over the centuries, and I can safely say your aptitude for the Force would fall short of them all.
Like that is a galactic understatement. She has no Force ability. She has no Force power. Why train her as a Padawan if she has no Force power? It makes no sense. Still, Hong offers her lightsaber that she inherited from Ezra and asks her, "Do you want to train again?" Now it's time for Sabine to really consider what she wants to do. What a tough choice. The regional manager shows Ahsoka and Hera at the command center where they're watching all the construction going on. And we see off in the distance a large engine being constructed. But the thing is, it's a type of engine that's for an Imperial Star Destroyer, nothing that the Republic is doing. So there are some questions to be asked. When Hera asks what is going on with the engine that's being constructed, she's told it's classified, which how can it be classified? I'm a general, unclassify it. So she again pulls rank. The protocol droid comes over and starts interpreting the document and kind of lets slip out that guess who showed up recently? An HK assassin droid.
An HK class droid recently prevented me from completing this task.
And it turns out that droid is leaving at that very moment on the engine that's being pulled out of the dry dock. At that point, all hell breaks loose. And now it's time to run off into battle as Ahsoka jumps out a window, chases after the engine as it's being dragged away for reason I don't know if she's going to jump on it, but then she encounters the Inquisitor we've seen before. Hera jumps into the Phantom and takes off after the engine that's being pulled out of dock by some sort of tug. I suppose you think we'd be getting a very exciting lightsaber battle next, but honestly, it kind of starts off awkwardly. There's this weird little jump step Ahsoka does. Everyone's pointing it out just because it looks ridiculous, and it kind of does. The lightsaber battle, honestly, is not bad for a TV show, but it just seems a little, I'm not certain what it is. It just doesn't seem right. But there is one thing I do notice. Ahsoka stabs the droid right through the chest. And what does she do? She doesn't pull the saber right back out. She slashes to the side and tears the droid apart. Gee, if you're trying to kill maybe someone's former Padawan, That would have been the thing to do. The battle between Ahsoka and the Inquisitor ends with him, of course, having the double-bladed saber and throws it at her as it's spinning and goes off into the distance. Shin shows up in a ship, throws some blaster fire down to try to throw off Ahsoka. Inquisitor jumps on the ship and is about to escape, leaving his lightsaber behind. No. Oh, wait. Here it comes in a very awkward-looking scene. Just looks ridiculous the way she just kind of slides to the side to avoid it. Well, of course, all that's going on down on the surface. Hera is chasing after that engine that's about to escape into hyperspace. We see a little bit of everyone's favorite murder bot, Chopper. Another takeaway from the scene, again, is that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is just not acting well. Her delivery is flat and emotionless. It's a tense scene, and you would think she'd be, having a lot more excitement to her voice. No, it's delivered very flatly.
Shoot it down and we crash into the port city. Just ready a tracking device. And don't miss this time.
Chopper is acting actually kind of like Chopper normally acts, picking through objects, cursing, what I assume droid cursing. But I also noticed we can almost understand the voice a little bit more than we did in the cartoon. It's strange. I mean, we all know that it's Dave Filoni doing the voice, but there's times that you can actually hear what he says. They're able to throw a tracking device on the ship as it goes off into hyperspace. Of course, Chopper celebrates. Back on Lothal, we see Sabine arrive home, and it appears that she's done some thinking. She pulls out her Mandalorian armor, sets it all out, puts it on. Time for a haircut. And this is actually kind of reminiscent of what Kanan Jarrus did back in Rebels, where he chopped off his hair using a knife. I don't know if it's meant to, draw that analogy or not, but it is something that I remember. And we come back to Sabine with having her more traditional Rebels look with the short hair. And then she sends a message to Ahsoka saying,
I'm ready.
Ahsoka arrives on Lothal to meet up with Sabine, and we see a scene that's kind of reminiscent of the end of the Rebels series, where Sabine is standing in front of the mural she did of the entire Ghost crew, herself, Hera, Chopper, Ezra Bridger, Zeb, and Kanan Jarrus. Honestly, again, the only person not mentioned so far in the show is Kanan Jarrus, which is really strange since that was Hera's lover and the father of her child. But again, the child's not even mentioned in this. I guess we're just ignoring that for some reason. If you look at the scene from Rebels itself, you notice that Ahsoka's presented differently. She's dressed all in white, carrying a staff. I kind of always got the impression that she was like Gandalf the White at that point. A different role for her rather than a former Jedi or whatever she is now. I don't know what she is, but I got the impression it was sort of like a sage-like character, someone more wise. I don't know what it was. Maybe just the tenor of the scene. But the idea was that they were going to look for Ezra, which kind of is what they're doing here by trying to track down Thrawn. On Hera's ship, she tells Sabine to
Take us out, padawan.
which elicits a smile of sorts from Sabine. And off they go to track down the ship. The episode ends with the engine arriving at a hyperspace ring. Morgan is on the bridge, and it's clear that this is the vessel that they're going to use to go get Thrawn. And that's the end of the episode. And it was just a lot of talking to me. This whole episode was a lot of talking. I know there was a little bit of action in one scene, but this was a lot of exposition, a lot of let's deal with our feelings. And this is why this one didn't strike me as much as the other one. I felt a little more, I don't want to use the word anger, but the other one bothered me more than this one did. This one is just kind of a nothing thing. There are, of course, canon violations. A lot of stupid things go on, but this one was not as offensive to me personally. I know there are some people out there that dislike this one more than anything else, but it just is. There's nothing going on here. We again have a bad acted show. The only acting that's really good is Ray Stevenson as Balin. Everyone else is devoid of emotion, or just not connecting with their character. It's just not very engaging. The story itself, all we know is they're going to get Thrawn. We don't know why. I still don't understand how Thrawn is somehow going to magically restore the Empire. I understand what the story was in the book, which of course is the source of a lot of this material that they're doing for this show. But if he's way off on the other side of the galaxy, I don't understand how he's magically going to appear and recreate the Empire. There's just a lot of connections missing in this story. Maybe it'll develop, maybe it'll become interesting at some point, but for the first 2 episodes to premiere on this show, it's dull. It's not great. Look, it's not as bad as Book of Boba Fett. That was just awful. And Obi-Wan was just offensive to canon on so many levels. It's ridiculous. This just sort of is. And again, you wonder, why is Dave Filoni breaking his own canon, other than the fact that maybe he's decided I can finally create Star Wars the way I wanted to create it. We're going to continue to watch this, of course. I will be participating in our live watch Wednesday nights with Wookiee Be Bad and the Fractured Filter on Wookiee Be Bad's channel. Go check that out at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Wookiee's channel. Go watch our show from last week, which we did 4 hours of live commentary. That was a struggle session. This one hopefully won't be as much of a struggle, but it'll probably be rough, just given the history so far. Till next time, questions, comments, witticisms down below. Click the like button, click the subscribe button. I'll see you all later.